I'm going to teach you what you should eat before and after your workouts to maximize your fat loss and your muscle growth. My name is David Harron, and if this is your very first time here and you want to learn how this whole big fitness puzzle works, then don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel to not miss any free training and nutritional myths that I'm about to break. To maximize your muscle growth and your fat loss, you need to focus on how well you perform and how well you recover. And that's why your pre and post nutrition is going to be extra important. There are a lot of myths and recommendations out there telling you what's the best pre and post nutrition you should be eating, and then you must eat it in a certain times and so on. And these black and white recommendations is exactly why people get confused. So exactly like I mentioned in my previous video, is that context will always matter and it will almost always depend. So make sure you're watching the whole video, because I will go through some different scenarios like how long are you going to train? What are you going to train? Are you going to train again the same day or not? Are you training fasted or not? And so on. So it's going to vary quite much on which food you should add or eliminate for the best results. So let's start off with your pre-workout meal. So the main goal with your pre-workout meal is to provide your body with energy and fuel throughout the whole workout, and to minimize muscle protein breakdown. To make sure that this can be done, you must digest the food well. The last thing you want is to be too full during your workouts or crash during your workouts. So when we're looking at our pre-workout meal, we want to understand the three macronutrients: protein, carbs and fat. But we also want to look at fibers. The two most important macronutrients for your pre-workout meal is going to be carbs and protein. You want to consume a high quality protein with a high amount of the amino acid leucine, which is the most anabolic one, and this will help you to minimize the muscle protein breakdown. This could be found in egg white, chicken breast, whey protein, for example. And if you're a vegan, you want to have a good blend in grains and legumes. I have no idea how to pronounce it, but a good mix of that would be, for example, rice and beans. And to boost your workouts with energy, you want to consume a significant amount of carbs. The carb sources should mainly come from glucose, but you should also consume some fructose too. When you're combining multiple carb sources like glucose and fructose, you're allowing your body to transport more carbs to the cell. The easiest way to say it is that more doors will be opened up and more carbs can be handled in the same time. Although protein and carbs is the main focus in a pre-workout meal, fats and fibers also play its role. The more fats and fibers you're adding to your meal, the slower the digestion is going to be. So, depending on how long from your training session you are, you could manipulate your digestion with more fats and fiber the further away from your training session you are, and reduce these the shorter time you have. I know that the theory could sound super complicated, so let's see how this looks like in real life. First scenario we have is easy. You're training fasted. I know many people are making great results with fasted training, and it's absolutely manageable because with the right overall nutrition, our body is storing the glycogens locally in the muscles, and this could be used right away. However, I'm not a huge fan of completely fasted training, and I would recommend to get some fast digested protein source before working out, like whey protein or a vegan option, for example, to minimize the higher risk of muscle loss, especially if you're in a caloric deficit and want to lose fat. And if you still want to train fasted, just make sure that you're getting enough total protein in your overall diet and hydrate well. So, next scenario, you are short on time and need to train within 30 to 60 minutes. In this case, the digestion needs to be fast, so you don't want to slow it down with more fats and fibers. So, you want a fast absorbing protein like whey protein, for example, or egg whites, and some fast digested carbs like rice cakes and fruits, for example. The rice cake is providing you with glucose and the fruit will provide you with fructose. If you're more to the 30-minute side, then mixing it all up with some fruits and some protein powder, for example, and drinking the calories will speed up the digestion process even more. But let's say you're 1.5 to 2 hours from working out, then you want to add some fibers to your meal to slow down the digestion. So instead of using rice cakes, you can do an oatmeal, for example, instead, which has more fibers. And topping that with some berries will provide you with even more fibers. You could also use some protein powder in your oatmeal, or you can just eat some lean meats like chicken breast or some egg whites to the side, or eat this meal with some vegetables, potatoes and a fruit to the side. And if you're a vegan and don't have a good mix in your protein sources, or if the overall meal has a low protein intake, then you could drink some amino acids like EAA or BCAAs to your meal to boost up your meal with some more essential amino acids that you may miss out. However, drinking these drinks will be a waste of money if you're already consuming enough of the animal protein sources in your overall diet. So, last scenario, you're about to train after 2 to 3 hours from your pre-workout meal. In this case, I wouldn't only use fibers to my meal, I would also add some fat sources to slow down the digestion process even more. Simply put some peanut butter on your oatmeal or some nuts, for example, or you can put some whole eggs to your omelette, or for example some feta cheese to your vegetables, and you're good to go. In this video I'm not going to go too deep on how much protein you need exactly, because that will depend on many factors, but for now try to hit anywhere between 20 to 50 grams of high quality protein, depending on if you're on the lighter or on the heavier side. And what goes for carbs, it will also depend on many factors, and as I mentioned before, some people train perfectly fine without any food at all, so you need to experiment with how much that you need, that you feel. But here is a simple guideline. Anywhere from 0.5 to 1 gram per kilo body weight will do for most people. If you're doing higher reps and longer workouts or training bigger muscle groups like legs, for example, then aim for the higher side. And if you're only training small muscle groups like arms, for example, or if you're doing strength work with 5 reps or less, your pre-workout meal is not likely going to depend on your carb consumption, and you can go more towards the lower end. These are just guidelines, so some people may be digesting some foods for 3 hours, and for other people that may just take 1.5 hours, so you need to experiment with this. And before we dive into the post-workout nutrition, I can't stress enough the fact that you need to be conscious of which food sources you're choosing. So, if you have some food allergies or your body's not handling some food sources well and you're getting all bloated, try to avoid these foods and be conscious of which food that is. I remember I ate broccoli because that was so good, but I farted all over the gym. Congratulations for sticking with me so long. Let's move on to your post-workout nutrition. Matilda, when did you finish your training?
Maybe 20 minutes ago.
20 minutes? You can't miss your anabolic window. Take it now. And your fast carbs now. Come on. The same here. A lot of misconceptions and a lot of BS talk with your post-workout nutrition. I know people driving home as crazy to not miss this 30-minute anabolic window, so they don't miss out everything they've done. So let's have a look at that and see what actually matters. The main goal with your post-workout nutrition is to shift from your catabolic state into a more anabolic state and improve your recovery. And with your nutrition, you are able to do that by maximizing your muscle protein synthesis and to replenish your glycogen storage. This could also sound super complicated, but I will try my best to explain it in the easiest way I can. When you're eating an adequate amount of high quality protein, you are stimulating the protein synthesis, and this spike will last for about 3 hours until it's time to eat protein again. So back when we didn't have enough researchers and when you're actually damaging your muscles during your training sessions, the hype still exists that you want to take advantage of this anabolic window as soon as possible, like 30 minutes or 1 hour, to make those gains. But we now know that resistance exercises stimulates the muscle protein synthesis up to 48 hours. And this anabolic window around training would be extended to more or less 4 to 6 hours depending on when you ate protein the last time. So that's quite logic if you still have amino acids in your bloodstream or not. To make it super easy, most people should focus on getting enough total protein for the day and not stress too much on how fast you need to be with your protein intake after your session, but instead be more conscious of when you ate protein the last time before you trained. To simplify this even more, I would just say that if you're training completely fasted, you would want to have some protein as soon as possible. But if you ate your pre-workout meal, let's say 2 hours before you trained, and then you train for like 1.5 hours, you still have like 2 to 3 hours left to not miss that anabolic window. So no, you didn't train for nothing and you can now chill out. So how about carbs? The goal with the carbs is to replenish your glycogen storage, to refill your muscles, and to speed up your recovery for your upcoming workout. And yes, for your next upcoming workout. So carbs immediately after working out is not as important if your next training session is 24 hours or later, as long as you're eating enough carbs for the rest of your meals. So if you're training again the same day, your ability to replenish your glycogen stores is enhanced because your insulin sensitivity will be much higher post-exercise. So taking that advantage of eating some high glycemic carbs directly after your workout, like rice cakes, white rice, white pasta, white bread for example, is a great way to do so. You could also use the multiple carb sources as I went through before and include some fruits to improve the replenishment and the total amount of carbs that you can be handled in the same time. But stick to mostly glucose, since fructose will mostly replenish liver glycogen storage rather than the muscle glycogen storage that you will be needing more for your upcoming workout. When it comes to the amount of carbs you want to consume post-workout, it's going to depend on many factors, like which type of training you're doing, how long it was, how intense it was. But here's a simple guideline. Anywhere from 0.5 to 1.5 grams per kilo body weight will do for most people. And as goes for fats, we now know that they are slowing down the absorption of the carbs and the protein. So I would recommend you to keep the fat intake low in your post-workout meal, and especially if you're training again the same day. So guys, with all of this said, it isn't that complicated in real life. To summarize this, I would just say eat protein and carbs before and after your workouts. Carbs immediately after your workout isn't that important if you're not training again the same day. And if you're training fasted, you could be more optimal with getting some fast digested protein before your workout. And if you don't want to do that, focus then on getting total amount of protein in your overall diet and have some protein a little bit sooner after your workout. I will leave some researches for you who wants to read more about this topic in the description. And if you have any questions about this topic or want me to cover another topic that you've been struggling on, then leave it on the comment section in the below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel to not miss next week of knowledge. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Peace.